Three chains of islands stretch across the Pacific, and they've become the invisible battle lines defining America's containment of China and China's ambition to break free into the open ocean. Right now, as you listen to this, Chinese aircraft carriers conduct exercises beyond what military strategists call the second island chain for the first time in history. This isn't just naval posturing. It's the culmination of a 7-decade strategic chess match that began during the Korean War and continues reshaping the balance of power in the Pacific. The island chain strategy started not with China, but with America. In 1951, as communist forces pushed south through Korea, State Department diplomat John Foster Dulles looked at a map of the Pacific and saw something profound: a natural fortress. Running from the frigid Aleutian Islands down through Japan, Taiwan, and the Philippines, then curving through Indonesia toward Australia. These island chains could become an impenetrable wall containing both the Soviet Union and Communist China. But Dulles wasn't the first to recognize the strategic importance of these islands. 3 years earlier, in 1948, a Joint Chiefs of Staff study had already outlined this defensive perimeter. And in 1950, General Douglas MacArthur crystallized the concept with a phrase that still echoes through Pentagon corridors today. He called Taiwan an unsinkable aircraft carrier, perfectly positioned to project American power or deny Chinese access to the Pacific. The first island chain forms the inner ring of this strategy. Imagine drawing a line from Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula down through Japan's main islands, then through the Ryukyu chain to Taiwan, continuing south through the northern Philippines and ending at Borneo. Every island, every strait, every deep water passage within this chain can be monitored, controlled, or blocked. Critical choke points like the Miyako Strait between Japan and Taiwan, and the Luzon Strait between Taiwan and the Philippines serve as natural bottlenecks where naval forces can be funneled and controlled. For the United States, it represents the forward edge of Pacific defense. For China, it's a cage. The second island chain lies roughly 1,000 miles further east. This outer perimeter runs from Japan's remote Bonin and Volcano Islands down through Guam, America's most fortified position in the Western Pacific, then through Palau and the Western Caroline Islands to Papua New Guinea. If the first island chain is the front door, the second island chain is the property line. There's even a third island chain stretching from the Aleutians through Hawaii to New Zealand, but that's largely academic since any conflict that reaches the third island chain means the previous two have already fallen. Here's what makes this fascinating. China turned America's containment strategy into its own roadmap for expansion. In the 1980s, Admiral Liu Huaqing, known as the father of the modern Chinese Navy, laid out a breathtakingly ambitious timeline. China would control waters within the first island chain by the 2000s, project power to the second island chain by the 2020s, and operate as a global navy by the 2040s. Liu wasn't just dreaming. After studying at the Soviet Naval Academy under Admiral Sergei Gorshkov, he understood that naval power wasn't just about ships. It was about controlling sea lanes, denying enemy access, and projecting force far from your shores. When he took command of China's navy in 1982, it was largely a coastal force with outdated equipment. When he stepped down in 1988, he had set in motion the transformation that we're witnessing today. The numbers are staggering. China now operates the world's largest navy with over 370 vessels, compared to America's 296. Nearly 70% of China's current fleet has been launched in the past decade, making it not only the biggest but also one of the newest navies in the world. China's shipbuilding capacity is 230 times that of the United States. Let that sink in. For every warship America builds, China can build 230. If you're finding this breakdown useful, now's a good time to subscribe. We cover this kind of strategic depth every week, and it's free. Let me get back to discussing the Navy. China's 3 aircraft carriers, Liaoning, Shandong, and the newly commissioned Fujian, represent a qualitative leap forward. The backbone of this modernized fleet includes advanced Type 55 Renhai-class destroyers, among the most sophisticated surface combatants ever deployed by the People's Liberation Army Navy. The Pentagon revealed in December 2025 that China plans to construct 6 more carriers by 2035, giving them a total of 9. That would outnumber the 6 carriers currently deployed in the United States Pacific Fleet. This naval expansion has already achieved Liu's first objective. Chinese forces now regularly operate within the first island chain, turning what America once considered contained waters into contested space. The South China Sea, once patrolled primarily by United States and Allied forces, now sees constant Chinese naval presence. Beijing has employed what it calls the cabbage strategy, surrounding contested features with layers of Coast Guard vessels, fishing fleets, and naval forces to gradually squeeze out rivals. The real breakthrough came in June 2025. For the first time in history, a Chinese aircraft carrier crossed the second island chain. The Liaoning was spotted operating southwest of Japan's Minamotori Island, far beyond any previous Chinese carrier deployment. This wasn't a brief transit. Chinese carriers spent a combined 58 days operating beyond the first island chain in 2025, nearly double the previous year's total. During that June deployment alone, Japan's defense ministry tracked close to 520 aircraft takeoffs and landings from both Chinese carriers. These weren't just training exercises, they were demonstrations of capability, proof that China could now project sustained naval power across the Western Pacific. The implications are profound. Control of Taiwan and its surrounding deep waters would give China's ballistic missile submarines undetected access to the broader Pacific, where they could serve as a credible nuclear deterrent. The Yellow Sea and East China Sea are too shallow for clandestine submarine operations, but Taiwan's eastern waters provide the depth needed for strategic submarines to disappear into the Pacific's vastness. America hasn't been passive. The 2014 Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement with the Philippines initially covered 5 military bases where United States forces could rotate. In 2023, this expanded to 9 sites, including critical locations in northern Luzon facing Taiwan and in Palawan overlooking the South China Sea. The Philippines received $40 million in United States military assistance in 2024, making it the largest recipient in the East Asia-Pacific region. The United States Navy plans to establish a massive military storage facility at Subic Bay by September 2026, a 25,000 square meter climate-controlled warehouse that signals America's commitment to maintaining forward positions. United States Marines have shifted their entire Pacific strategy, deploying Marine littoral regiments and other smaller, more agile units across the island chain, rather than concentrating in large bases. Meanwhile, the AUKUS submarine partnership between Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States represents a significant expansion of Allied submarine capabilities in the Pacific, directly challenging China's growing underwater presence. The Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, known as the Quad, has also emerged as a critical counterweight to Chinese expansion, bringing together the United States, Japan, Australia, and India in regular naval exercises and intelligence sharing across the Indo-Pacific region. But here's the paradox. Every American move to strengthen the island chain strategy validates Chinese fears of encirclement, while every Chinese breakthrough toward blue water naval capability validates American concerns about containment failure. Beijing views the island chains as proof of American malign intent dating back to the Cold War. Washington sees Chinese naval expansion as confirmation that containment is necessary. The political dimension adds another layer of complexity. All United States allies along the first island chain are experiencing political turmoil, and China hopes to benefit. Japan faces coalition instability, Taiwan grapples with cross-strait tensions, and the Philippines balances between American security guarantees and Chinese economic opportunities. China's strategy extends beyond the Pacific. The Asia Maritime Transparency Initiative now tracks what they call fourth and fifth island chains in the Indian Ocean, reflecting China's establishment of its first overseas military base in Djibouti and its 99-year lease on Sri Lanka's Hambantota port. Admiral Liu's vision is becoming reality ahead of schedule. His timeline called for global naval capability by 2040, but China's carriers operating beyond the second island chain in 2025 suggests that moment may arrive sooner. The Type 4 nuclear supercarrier under construction will displace 110,000 to 120,000 tons, making it larger than America's Gerald R. Ford-class carriers. Yet even those skeptical of the island chain concept acknowledge its psychological weight. Admiral Yoji Koda, former fleet commander of Japan's maritime self-defense force, argues that the island chain strategy has no significance from a practical military standpoint because real naval operations unfold independent of lines drawn on charts or maps. But that may be precisely the point. The island chains were never just about geography, they're about psychology, perception, and the projection of power. When Chinese carriers operate beyond the second island chain, they're not just conducting naval exercises, they're announcing that China has broken through America's 75-year-old containment strategy and emerged as a true blue water naval power. The question now isn't whether China will achieve Admiral Liu's vision of a global navy by 2040. The question is what happens when an irresistible Chinese force meets an immovable American island chain and whether the Pacific is big enough for both. Where do you think this ends? Let me know in the comments. And if this kind of analysis is useful to you, subscribing is the best way to make sure you see more of it.